Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. We have no 3-minute delegations. Can I get a mover and seconder to confirm the agenda, please? Rob and Wendy, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest, conflict? None declared. I need a motion to confirm the minutes of our 654th session from February 20th. I get a mover. Wenda and Wendy, any discussion on those minutes? All in favor? That's carried. And a confirmation of the public meeting zoning bylaw from our minutes and amendments from our February 20th meeting. I get a mover and seconder for those minutes. Wendy and Sherry, any discussion on those minutes? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have 3 delegations on the agenda this evening. The first one is the Tamworth-Aaronsville Grassroots Growers. It's a follow-up to their request for use of township lands from a previous meeting. Who's going to speak on behalf of the Grassroots Growers? If you just sit at the microphone. If you press the silver button, that should activate the mic. You'll get a red light turning on if it's functioning.
Whoa, okay. This is pretty scary.
So the floor is yours. Just introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name's Phoebe Wilson. I'm the chair of the Tamworth and Aaronsville Grassroots Growers Organization. I know you guys, they've presented here earlier and we got some feedback that there was a site available in Centerville, correct? And we were hoping you would reconsider back to our original request, simply because we are rooted around this area and we were hoping to have the community garden located in Tamworth. I can read this letter if you prefer from Colin, who was not able to be here this evening.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, so follow up to our November 14th presentation. Colin and Michelle, who gave the original presentation, are unavailable. We do not wish to take up more of the council's time than necessary, so we'll not redo our original presentation. Council kindly offered us the use of the Centerville Fairgrounds for the community garden. However, as Centerville is too far away from Tamworth-Aaronsville, we would like to ask council to revisit site number 1 from the community garden land inventory report dated January 15th, 2024. Site number 1 being the open field behind the Stone Mills Family Market grocery store just east of the Tamworth soccer field. This site is central to both Tamworth and Aaronsville, as well as conveniently located for local inhabitants. And we really appreciate this opportunity and really hope that a location for the garden can be approved. And of course, I'm here to hopefully answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Phoebe. Any questions for Phoebe? Rob, go ahead.
If I recall correctly, in your original presentation, your concern was you had to have water and power, or at least that was one of your main things.
I think that was an ask. I don't know if our decision for site 1 is predicated on water and whatever. I mean, we'd have to work something out. There's ways to do that. So, or what you saying is that there is no water and power available at site 1 and that's why Centerville was chosen?
I recall that was one of the concerns, just that this offered that in lieu of, and I understand your concern for location. The Tamworth-Aaronsville area is where you're located.
Yeah, it's difficult because we're all volunteers, and in order to work on a community garden, it would be difficult for people to make that trek down there on a daily or weekly basis. So we were hoping to center it around where we're centered. We have an annual plant sale every year in the hamlet. So that's was our thinking. I think water and power can be figured out. But it's the location that's our biggest concern.
Thank you. Krista Lee, you had something?
Yeah, so thank you for coming back. So last time we were kind of part of our discussion was let's see how you felt about Centerville, because it is a beautiful idea with the Agricultural Society. But last meeting, I also did say when we saw the presentation of all these places, I thought, I'd like to see these gardens in all of our communities. And John astutely said, if we want these gardens, they have to be led by the people in those communities. So I think this is the perfect opportunity for us to have that first kind of local community garden led by people near where they live. And pardon the pun, but it allows it to organically like integrate into your life when you're stopping at the grocery store. There's walkability, bikeability to your members. I also think we have a report coming in later tonight under new information from public health, and it's about food insecurity. And 1 in 6 people in our public health catchment are food insecure, means they cannot afford or have access to healthy food. So I think it's a great way for us addressing that local issue. I also love the idea of it, the community hub kind of that's being built there, and why I like integrating this garden along with where there's soccer fields and skating is the kind of intergenerational sharing of skills and knowledge, which I think we need more of. So if the water and power is not like a holdup for you, I would propose that we move ahead with location 1 for a period of either 3 or 5 years. We can review it in that time, because I know part of the hesitation on site 1 is, does that land have a different use in the future? And so at 3 or 5 years, if people were on board with that, I would propose that we move ahead with that and can review it in the future, whether or not the location should change based on land use needs in the future.
Okay. Anyone else? Doug, go ahead.
Yeah, just a question. If I remember right from the original presentation, there was an intent or a possible intent to have possibly buildings or something, structures located on the area where you wanted to work. And that was a bit of a concern, because the township has potential use for that property. Okay, so where would you be if you were asked to move in 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years?
Well, I can only speak from my perspective. Colin and I haven't had a chance to really, I went over his presentation and that. But I think the key at the end is that we need to start small. We don't know how it's going to go. I don't anticipate we're popping up some buildings. Yes, we're going to need some shelter, but that's easily looked after with, a tent or whatever for the workers to sit in shade and have some water and things like that. So I don't know about the buildings. I can't anticipate that we would be doing that in the first or second year. And obviously that would have to come back to the municipality anyway, if we decided to do something like that. There's also portable buildings. There's lots of those buildings that you can put up and take down. So that's, I don't think that's insurmountable. We are planning on having some raised boxed beds for people that can't bend, things like that. So we're going to have a combination of things of, beds on the ground and raised beds for people that can't get down on their hands and knees or weed or things like that. That's, so different ways of doing things. But I don't anticipate that we're going to pop a building up there right away. If that is a concern. I mean, I think we can provide people with shelter fairly inexpensively through tents. We're going to have water there anyway. I mean, there's those big tanks of water, and most people bring their own water. So I think we're not certainly, unless Susie can answer that, or Mimi, I don't anticipate buildings.
No, as you say, some kind of shelters will work quite well.
Yeah, I think that's doable.
Okay. Sherry.
I'm just sitting here thinking, is it possible for you folks, and I know, well, it feels like we're nearing spring, but anyway, I know you probably want to get going or at least planning. Is it possible for you to sort of have an actual proposal of exactly what you want to do so we know fully what we're saying yes to?
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a challenge. That was my request as well to the coordinator, is we have to have a plan. And as far as I know, they're working on it, but they don't have it available this evening. I completely understand what you mean, and we do have to have a plan, but there's a lot of discussion that has to go around that plan with the members of the committee and making sure we're all on the same page. So that's going to take some time to get that resolved. And I'm assuming that would have to be approved by you guys.
Well, yeah, I can't imagine that anything you're going to do will be so vast and extensive an area that it's going to intrude on another use, or maybe Rob, I can just hold it there and just, Jake, do you have any comments at this point about the size of a plot that's available there, or any problems that you can see with locating the garden in that general area? You'll have to
Use
walk.
mine, Jake.
No, there's another one there, Phoebe.
Yeah, through your worship. I think it was mentioned in the last meeting, there's some planted trees that are kind of 3 or 4 feet high growing up in there. We'd have to potentially go in and remove and maybe replant them somewhere else. One thing that just kind of jumped to mind, I'm with Councillor Milligan right now, and it's just hard to envision, like, where are they going to park? Are they going to walk from the food land down to it? Are they going to kind of go in the back behind the soccer field? It'd be nice to know little details like that, what the plan and access of that property is. Soil conditions, I'm not sure either, right? I know when I was planting the trees, I physically planted the trees. It kind of seemed to me that the spade shovel wasn't really liking it in terms of there's a lot of rocks.
Well, I suspect we're gonna do a lot more raised beds.
Yeah,
So
and
that's the more common thing these days, is to have the mounded beds. I mean, obviously, we're gonna have to take a look at the soil. I mean, I think Colin has just confirmed that he does have the funding from LNA. And he has our funding. So, maybe if we can have a month, we can put together something for the next council meeting. Would that be acceptable?
Sure. I mean, in principle, there's no objection because it's one of the sites that Jake
Right.
had proposed in the first place. It's just the details at this point. I don't think we have to get into that too much here. Unless, Rob, did you have something in particular?
I think you've already elaborated on it, but something came to mind, Jake, and I would have to look at it. But we have the M&R property, and I know that we don't own it, but we utilize it with the playground. Behind the playground section, it goes around. I don't know if that's all wetland there, or if there's a space of grass there drawing water from the lake, maybe. Kind of a central spot. I don't know if that's a possibility, but it depends on the size you're looking to go and where you're going to grow from there. And that came to mind the other day when I read this, and I thought, I don't know. But again, without knowing how big and room for expansion, that's a question mark.
Yeah, well, I think, I'm waiting for that as well as the chair. So that was one of the things that was requested of the committee, managing this opportunity. So if you can give us a month, we'll get something put together.
Yeah, Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, through your worship. Yeah, that's an interesting idea, Rob. When I put together that report, I thought that kind of was my mandate to go and look at properties that we do own. I didn't really consider, we own a thin sliver of land where in Aaronsville, where the train station is. It's only 66 feet, I think, in width, kind of the building and a little bit more. So I didn't really consider that property because it was, yeah, and there's like floodplain things to think about too. And it's heavily treed, but those trees are probably going to not be with us that much longer because they're ash. Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot to consider. That's an interesting idea. In terms of, I think different councilors have touched on it. That there was maybe, future plans that land could be allocated in some other, a lot of those meetings, I'm just a building inspector, wasn't really a part of in terms of potential for more social housing. It's sort of stuff that's going on kind of above me. Obviously the county did the social unit in social housing that are there today, and maybe there is an opportunity for more of that in the future, that sort of stuff. I know sitting around talking in staff meetings, that was kind of discussed. So those are kind of the the background of that property. And I think most council has kind of an awareness that that's kind of discussions we've had about that property, so.
Okay, thanks, Jake. Anyone else at this point? So I think by consensus, there's no objection in principle to relocating at that site one, we'll call it. If your group could just get us details in consultation with Jake. In the meantime, we've got another council meeting on the 18th, and I think it's the first Tuesday in April is the subsequent one. The way the weather's going, you might want to be tilling by that time. So, yeah, as soon as you can.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to put together that plan.
Yeah.
'Cause we want to know too.
Sure.
You know, we've got $6,000, which I think is a really good start.
Mhm.
We don't need to go, gangbusters right away. We just got to feel our way. But I think we need to do some soil test samples and things like that so we know what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But yes, so if you could give me a time, next council meeting, we'll have something.
If you can,
together
that's
for
the
you.
18th, I believe.
Okay,
Okay.
18th of April.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Phoebe.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, March, sorry.
Oh, well, I can't commit that because I don't know about Colin.
Okay, the
so-
first meeting in April would be, I think, the 4th. I'm not sure exactly. It's a Tuesday because the Monday's Easter holiday. Is it the 2nd? Okay,
Okay, so April the 2nd
yeah.
is the
It
next.
gives you a month.
Okay, so will we be on the agenda? Do I need to do anything?
You
for
need
that?
to apply to be on the agenda.
Okay.
Get in touch with Brandy. And,
Okay,
yeah, okay. Thank you, Phoebe.
thank you.
Thanks, Jake.
If I may, just so we have clear direction, I have a motion prepared
Yeah.
to reflect. Do you want me to read it out?
Yes, yeah. Brandy's got a motion to reflect our consensus decision here.
So I've drafted a motion to reflect the discussion that the delegation be received and further that council approves in principle site one being the open field behind the Stone Mills Family Market grocery store just east of the Tamworth soccer field as presented at the January 15th, 2024 council meeting, and that the Tamworth Aaronsville grassroots growers bring their site plan back to council for final approval.
Can I get a mover? Krista Lee, seconded by Sherry. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Brandy. Okay, we have a second delegation on our agenda, which is from Flame Ontario, the 2024 Sideburn event. This is something that we've had for the last few years. Is there someone here to present for this one? It's a virtual presentation. Okay, we'll just wait till things come up on the screen then.
They're on whenever you want to address them.
Okay, so welcome. Who's doing the presentation? Could you introduce yourself, please? No, maybe she can't hear me.
Yep, just wait. You there, Alexandra?
Hello.
Okay, so is there any way that she can hear me, Jeff, or should we just do it through you?
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. That's great. Well, welcome. The floor is yours. Just to introduce yourself and proceed with your presentation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Oh, it just says that my screen sharing is disabled, but to be honest with you, it's not particularly relevant anyway, so I'll let you sort it out. But I'm Alex Barlow. I'm the board secretary from Flame Ontario Arts Collective. We run the event called Sideburn, which we ran last year under a permit from the township on Doyle Road. And we're returning this year, well, hopefully, to request a permit for the same May long weekend, the 16th to 20th. And just wanted to give you a bit of an update on the event that we're planning for this year and answer any questions you may have. I believe most of you were likely here last year when we came and presented regarding the event. So some things may be something you've heard already, but I think I can share my screen now. Nope, still can't. So in terms of the event itself that we're proposing, we're same organization, same name. Really, the only verifiable difference that we're going with this year is we're asking for a marginal increase to the overall event population, increasing it to 900 people from 800. Last year in total, we probably maxed out about 750 people on site. So we didn't quite get to the full numbers. Here we go. So we're asking for a slight increase. If you're not familiar with, Sideburn at all, we're what's called a sanctioned regional Burning Man event. Burning Man is the event that happens out in the desert out in Nevada. It's an 80,000 person city, temporary city that comes together for the period of a week. They are guided by some core principles, which I can certainly talk about, but we are sanctioned by them to run our own regional small event, obviously not 80,000 people, but within the same sort of core components and mandate as the Burning Man event in Reno abides by as well. There's about 300 regional events globally, and we're part of that community. So the board that I'm here representing today, we're a group of 12, and we have a pretty healthy not-for-profit that operates year-round just to put on this event. Obviously, with the name Burn in it, we do set some things on fire. We have 2 large art structures that we commission every year for the event, and we set one on fire on Saturday and the other on Sunday. And I can show you what the 2 art pieces that are being proposed for this year look like. This is our one for Sunday, commissioned by an artist out of Toronto. And this one is our art piece for the Saturday night. And I believe it's a group out of Ottawa leading that installation. So a bit of a unique event in that regard. And obviously we're looking to create the opportunity for participants to come and unplug for 4 nights in Stone Mills. 10 principles of Burning Man. I mean, perhaps the one interesting or the really interesting ones is that we're a completely decommodified event. So there's nothing for sale at the event. Everyone brings what they might need for 4 days of camping in a May-long weekend, which last year was everything from a snowsuit to, a swimsuit and your rain boots. Everything that we set up there, we also take completely off-site at the end. We aim to be what's called a leave no trace environment. So obviously we've been holding the event on Doyle Road. I think last year was our 3rd iteration at that location. We would love to return. For me personally, a real pleasure to present this to you and to help organize this event. I grew up in the region. I took swimming lessons at Vardy Lake. So it's nice to come back and put on this event that brings so many people to the community. So our theme for this year is Constellations. That was created and voted on by our community. As I mentioned, still the May-long weekend, so the 16th to 20th of May this year. Only difference really to the overall event permit is our request for up to 900 people. We've already been in touch with our porta potty vendor. That's really some of the main infrastructure. We sell the tickets, we bring the box for the event, and the participants bring everything else. And when they're done, they pack it up and take it home with them. Really what is the core of the event are the theme camps and the artists who bring their creations to the event. This is a picture from one group last year who had a tent that was sort of a bespoke 1940s bar and museum, kind of a neat space. We have 30 other sort of interesting creations that we expect to attend this year, and they've been doing applications to come and all of that. Big art event, obviously those large pieces as you saw, we provide a grant to build those. Art just generally at the event is a major piece, so we provide about $25,000 a year in art grants. for Canadian artists to bring their either burnable or just neat LED art or paintings, workshops, whatever to the event. We continue to have a pretty robust safety operation. So we have a safety team, a first aid team, and a fire focus team. The operation has full event radios. We have an emergency response structure. Of course, we work locally with the county and yourselves to ensure that everything meets the permit requirements and safety requirements. And our volunteer teams are groups of trained people. We have paramedics, members of the Canadian military. We've got nurses, doctors, etc., who volunteer some of their time in one of our safety teams. And then we also have a private security group that we pay for the event as well, who have experience in large events. And, we want to be good neighbors. We put in place a lot of policies around sound and garbage and being safe with their fires. This year probably will be about $15,000 in total that we spend locally on infrastructure. And we also encourage our attendees to shop locally and support Stone Mills as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have or address anything you might want to ask us related to our permit.
Thank you, Alex. Any questions or comments from council? Wenda, go ahead.
Hi, Alex. Nice to see you back. Just a quick question. In years past, you've had a fair amount of public input and comment. I'm not hearing that or even seeing that so much tonight. So I'm wondering, last year, do you actually go out after the event and speak with the neighbors and find out what their level of satisfaction was with the event and what could you do better and that sort of thing? And if so, could you share that with us tonight?
Absolutely. Well, I had two instances of feedback. One from an individual who called us on Sunday night on our phone. So we do distribute a notice to all locals, about 150 notices, in and around the event property. Notifying them of the event and providing them with our phone number. No one contacted us either by phone or email within the township until Sunday of the event, when I received a phone call where the individual was expressing some concern that perhaps we were not going to follow our sound policy for that night. And I asked them if they had found that we weren't following our sound policy or if they had a complaint, because we want to address that. They said they didn't. And then they sort of brought up some, I would say, larger, more philosophical objections to our event around why are we here, disturbing local taxpayers. So that was one individual who brought forward their concerns. I addressed them the best I could during that phone call, but the simple reality was we weren't, according to them, breaking any rules or causing them any problems. I think they wanted to have a chat with someone. So we did that. Wasn't a super positive conversation. I think both parties came away feeling perhaps that it was a bit of a rude experience, but that was the only complaint I received. I do have a friend of mine whose parents live just north of Bethel Road on County Road 4, and they noted that they heard some noise and they were wondering what the sign was out at the road, but that in the house in the evening, for example, they didn't hear any noise. They're very close to the event. So just some anecdotal feedback. We've not gone around and specifically after the fact asked for feedback, to be honest. But that's something that we could do. Perhaps it could be something we include in the notice, is a link to where they could find a survey to provide us feedback. Most people are just curious about who we are and what's going on. That's been my experience.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. How soon do you need a decision on this, Alex? Can we do one tonight? Is there any problem with approval? Any objection, council? Okay. What would you like to see us in a motion then, Brandy?
If I may, Reeve Wise, if you just want to move to receive the delegation as presented, they've submitted their permit application, so that will go through the process internally with staff for approval.
Okay, that's fine. Can I get that motion? Doug? And Sherry, any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much, Alex.
Thank you. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Okay, and our third and final delegation is from the LNA Ridge Runners Club, the Snowmobile Club. And I don't know who's doing the presentation or what it's about. Would one of you gentlemen come to the table? Yeah, sure, yeah, as long as you don't all talk at once. So to activate the microphone, you just press the silver button. And are you going to be the speaker, Dieter, or who's going to speak?
Actually, I'll start.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, members of Stone Mills Council, as well as ladies and gentlemen. My name is Keith Dawson, and I'm the president of Lennox and Addington Ridge Runner Snowmobile Club, a member of the Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to discuss the future of Shangri-La Road.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dieter Eberhardt. Most of you know me, but for those who do not, I've been a local Ontario land surveyor for 45 years and now retired and a long time snowmobiler. Keith said that we're here to talk about the future of Shangri-La Road. After Jeff Thompson, manager of Public Works and Emergency Services, informed me a couple of weeks ago that the township intended to formally close Shangri-La Road. I assume that this decision was made in response to the presentation made by the council last July by the adjoining landowners, Richard Podden and Carl Couture, and where I also had input on behalf of LNA Ridge Runners Snowmobile Club. There was no request in that presentation asking township to close the road.
Hi, everyone. It's my turn. I am Bill Blenkinsop and a past president of the Lennox and Addington Ridge Runners Snowmobile Club, having held that position for about 10 years. I think it was just 10 and a quarter years. As well, I served as the secretary treasurer of the Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs for 6 years, and I've been a snowmobiler since 1969.
The Shangri-La Road allowance starts in the village of Yarker and has been utilized and maintained as part of our trail network since 1969. This road allowance is part of our trail system that links Yarker, Enterprise, Beaver Lake, and Arden on what is known as Trail LA 101. Trail LA 101 is provided by partnerships with Stone Mills Township, Central and South Frontenac Townships, Ontario's Ministry of Natural Resources, Ontario Parks, as well as numerous private landowners. Combining LA 101 with the old KNP Trail provides a 152-kilometer loop that visits Yarker, Enterprise, Arden, Sharbert Lake, and Harrowsmith. This loop provides the most enjoyable winter outing for snowmobiling enthusiasts.
The movement of LAID, recognized by all here, is to create areas for outdoor and indoor recreation, enhancing physical and mental wellness. Stone Mills supports this by continuously creating and upgrading facilities, large and small, at times with the assistance of the organizations within their municipality. Examples being walkways, parks, arenas, ball fields, soccer fields, and not to be forgotten, trails, encouraging both summer and winter activities, one of which is snowmobiling.
We're just alternating here. It's a little different. Anyways, construction or reconstruction of outdoor recreation areas is not cheap nor easy. Look no further than the Cataraqui Trail or the KNP Trail and others. Expensive to accomplish, but well worth the efforts in the end. To members of the Snowmobile Club, Shangri-La Road is an irreplaceable main link in one of our major trails. You must recognize that we are only temporary stewards of road allowances. Who's to say what needs we will acquire in 10, 20, or even 50 years. We should not think far, we should think far beyond the present and not assume all the problems can be fixed with the stroke of a pen. There is need for positive dialogue, consultation, and just plain problem solving in order to get a very fair, achievable result acceptable to all parties.
Ontario's trail development and improvement depend on securing long-term access to municipality-owned properties, including the Shangri-La Road allowance, among others. We as snowmobilers are the primary users of this road allowance, which includes sledding visitors from as far away as the GTA. A reasonable winter would see 1,000+ users of the Shangri-La Road allowance.
Another area of which to make mention is the ongoing discussion regarding severances on lands viewed as agricultural quality land. I'm sure most of us here are aware of that. The adjustments to land use down the road will no doubt encourage the use of marginal land severances as a priority. Shangri-La Road fits nicely into that scenario. It is picturesque, offering viewing of flora and fauna both on and off the road allowance. Adjacent landowners may not wish to create lots at this time. However, in the future, subsequent property owners may well choose to do so. Who is to say? This road allowance is essentially in the village of Yarker, where development is already advancing in that direction in recent years. Please let us look to the future.
To address liability of the township, Shangri-La Road is used in the winter months by snowmobilers. The Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs, OFSC for short, provides third-party liability coverage to a maximum of $15 million on all prescribed OFSC groomed snowmobile trails. To be noted that once the trail is groomed, hikers, skiers, dog walkers, etc., do make occasional use of Shangri-La Road as well. During the off-season, Shangri-La Road is used also by local residents for recreational purposes, just another area to enjoy nature like the Cataraqui Trail. Unfortunately, others have chosen to use vehicles of various sizes to traverse Shangri-La Road, resulting in damage to the trail surface in many areas, including sizable water holes, deep ruts, and mud holes, which makes it virtually impossible for all the others to enjoy use of the road both in summer and winter. The end result is that those vehicle users who create the multiple problems end up trespassing on adjoining lands to avoid the damage they themselves have created. So for some nice folks, their recourse has been to ask for help from the township. That was the delegation by adjoining landowners, Richard Bowden and Carl Couture, who made their presentation to council last July. If I may quote from a court case that dealt with damage caused on a road allowance, decided in favor of the municipality, judge in his decisions said, and I quote, "In our judgment, the municipality is, in a broad sense, general sense, a trustee of the environment for the benefits of the residents in the area of the road allowance, and indeed for the citizens of the community at large." Good advice, I think, that should be considered seriously. Road closing and disposal is not the answer. At best, it takes time and is costly to all concerned. The summer season is coming, and we feel for those affected. Gating Shangri-La Road and allowing only authorized users is the answer, which should apply to any road deemed unfit for vehicular traffic due to safety concerns. It is a reasonable response by the municipality. There is a regulatory process available to the township that can be considered. I refer to Section 35 of the present municipal act. Section 35, restricting common law use of passage. A municipality may pass bylaws removing or restricting the common law right of passage by the public over a highway. That was an amendment made to the Municipal Act in 2006. A noted legal authority has analyzed Section 35 and came to these conclusions. Keep referring to this thing. Section 35 opens a whole new field of opportunity for municipalities. They can restrict roads for, say, recreational purposes, and also restrict who can use the road and for what use can be made of the road, etc. Of equal importance is the fact that many municipalities, and this would include Stone Mills, have many kilometers of roads once maintained, long since abandoned, but never closed. Never closed, which can be dealt with by using interesting innovations provided by Section 35. So that is okay. Oh, Brandy, can we go to those pictures now?
They're up.
All right. Okay. Let's look at some abandoned roads no longer maintained municipalities. What? Yeah. That's right. Yeah, let's look at some abandoned roads no longer maintained by the municipality, used as an OFSC snowmobile trail by landowners and members of the public. There you go. Okay, can you back up one? All right, good. Okay, this is the first one. This is the Sheffield Road Allowance at the 9th concession in the Enterprise. It's gated, used as a prescribed OFSC trail and by local landowners. And next one, please, Jeff. This is Britton Street, Village of Enterprise. It's ungated, used by landowners and by snowmobile trail. Next one, please. This is an abandoned road at County Road 1 at the Colebrook Road. It's gated, landowner use, and it is prescribed OFSC snowmobile trail. Next one, please. This is another abandoned road at Empty Road at Wilson Road. It's gated, landowner use, and it is a prescribed OFSC snowmobile trail. The next one. This is a road allowance at County Road 1 to the Department of National Defense property. It's ungated. It's a prescribed OFSC snowmobile trail, local landowner and general public use. Next one, please. This is a road allowance, the end of Love Road. It's at County Road 4. It's ungated. It's a prescribed OFSC snowmobile trail, landowner and general public use. Next one, please. It's the road allowance. This is the end of McEwen Road at County Road 5. It's ungated. It's a prescribed OFSC snowmobile trail, landowner and general public use. And we have one more, please. This is the abandoned road north of Bethel Road to Vardy Lake. It's ungated. It's a prescribed OFSC snowmobile trail, landowners and general public use. Okay, we're done with that. So What we're saying is gating is only done when and where circumstances would dictate. This practice to ensure the safety of users and to stem trespassing of individuals onto private lands. We feel that this is not a lot to ask for. We are totally aware of incidents involving gates, as I believe you are. There are always other factors involved, not just the presence of a gate. In this instance, a gate would be situated in a very visible, accessible, and a safe location.
So in conclusion, the Lennox and Addington Ridge Runners have historically repaired damage done on the Shangri-La Road allowance by unauthorized vehicle traffic. In 2022-23, our club spent $1,800 worth of material and machine time to restore the roadbed in order to allow our grooming units to prepare the trail. Unauthorized off-road vehicles travel through ruts and water holes, be it on municipally owned or privately owned properties. The installation of seasonal gates on this 40-foot road allowance would not allow use by unauthorized vehicle traffic. Lennox and Addington Ridge Runners would provide some funding for gates and signage as per the July 2023 Pod and Couture presentation to council. If approved, this work would be completed under the direct supervision of the township's works department. Cooperatively, this issue could be resolved. And to quote a wise man, he said, "A big hammer is not always required to eliminate a fly." Thank you again for allowing us to present.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Any questions or comments from council at this time? I wonder if Public Works Manager Thompson might have a few comments or questions for the delegation.
Thank you, through you, Reeve Wise. I have met with the property owners a couple times. I have met with Dieter and Mr. Fenwick a couple times in phone calls. I propose that we sit together maybe and come up with a proposal. I was myself, I'm not for a gate or putting any kind of barriers in the road allowance. So that's my position. If council wishes to go otherwise, I'm okay with that. But I think we should sit down together, come up with a reasonable solution, and report back to council. One thing to note that wasn't in the presentation, 1,000 meters in on Shangri-La Road, it goes to an LUP. It goes on private property. So it comes off the road allowance.
How long a stretch is on private land of the trail then?
I would say about half of it, Dieter, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, 1,000 meters, north of Bethel is where we turn right onto the property. It's owned, used to be owned by Al, and it's now Gene Gordon. And we run completely across their property to the old rail bed, which is M&R property, and then from there it's M&R property all the way to Vardy Lake. If we lose an LUP, for example, for that property, when Gene sells the property, the new owner, we have to deal with the new owner, and land use permissions for private landowners. Those can be revoked at any time. There's no, our snowmobile trails are basically at the pleasure of the landowner. Our position has always sort of been that because Shangri Road is a public road, if we lost that LUP, we could extend our trail right through to Bethel Road, and then it's just a matter of going less than a sort of 150 meters and then hook up to the old rail bed again, which is possible. So that's sort of our position,
And one more thing,
Yeah,
through
go
you,
ahead, Jeff.
Reeve Wise.
Yeah.
I did meet with the property owners, Podden and Carl Couture, and that's where the road closing topic come up. And they were willing to put it on title to give Ridge Runners access for an LUP.
Okay,
But I would like the opportunity to sit down together with the two groups.
that sounds like the
And,
best next step. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what's got to happen now, is sit down with Jeff and you folks and see if you can find a solution to the issue. Any comment from council on that? Yes, Rob, go ahead.
Just a small one. Thanks you for clarifying a lot of this. And I know that the LNA Ridge Runners do a lot of community work and you work hard on those trails, keep them cleaned up. I know for a fact that if it weren't for the work that you folks put together on these trails, that a lot of these trails would be cleared and paid for by taxpayer dollars. So I know that having you around looking after this, that those people that walk and enjoy our trails in the area owe a lot to you. And I want to thank you for that.
Thanks, Rob. When you think about it, the Cataract Ray Trail is really the major public trail in this area. And over the years, the LNA Ridge Runners have input probably close to $80,000 into the trail surface on that, to make that a well-used trail that's available to everybody.
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. So what do you need in terms of a motion, Brandy? Just receipt and recommend that the Ridge Runners sit down with Public Works Manager Thompson and the landowners if possible. Would that suffice? Okay, Sherry, do you want to make that motion? Is someone second it? Crystal Lee, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Get out there with your saw.
A tree down. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, great. Okay, thanks very much. Bylaws and resolutions, item 6.1. 2024-1230 being a bylaw to adopt the 2024 budget. The recommendation is that being a bylaw to adopt the estimates of all sums required for the 2024 budget be read a third and final time, and that the Reeve clerk be authorized to sign and seal. Can I get a mover and seconder for that, please? Doug and Wenda, any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Hooray, we passed our budget. What? It was easy. And the first one we've actually recommended increase in the amount that staff asked for. Staff reports, 8.2 treasurer. This is the February 2024 accounts. The recommendations that the council receive the accounts payable payroll reports for the month of February, and that the practice of publishing monthly accounts payable and payroll reports on council agendas be discontinued in order for the township to be compliant with its obligations under the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection and Privacy Act. Can I get this on the floor with a mover and seconder, please? Sherry and Wendy. So, Brandy, this is a little different. Do you want to elaborate on this this privacy issue?
Yes, thank you, Reeve Wife. So under the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection and Privacy Act, the municipality is obligated to keep personal information confidential. And there's a definition of personal information and what constitutes personal information. And one of those is tying any financial aspects to an individual. So in the accounts payable reports, they have to be heavily reviewed and information pulled out. So we are in compliance with that and not revealing payments that have been made to individuals for, if it was like a part-time contracted employee, or there's the other obligation of protecting third-party pricing. So sometimes when the municipality goes into an agreement with a supplier, we're not obligated to provide the pricing that they're providing because it can influence and trying to get the right wording, like the competitiveness of the service that they're providing. So it can provide an opportunity for someone else to come in and provide better pricing. So the recommendation is to do away with that, just so we remove the chance of error in not redacting certain information that shouldn't be released. Council, if they wish to see those reports, staff can always print them or send them to you via email.
Thank you. Any questions on that? So I guess what comes to mind is this is a sort of a balance between our obligation to be financially transparent and people's personal or proprietary business information. Would the accounts still be available under a Freedom of Information request, or would there still be a limit to what could be provided due to those issues?
There would be a limit in what could be provided. Anything that is coming out of accounts payable has already been approved within the operating budget. So the details don't really need to be in the upfront in the public view because it's already been approved through the budgeting process. So for example, in the budget, it talks to information technology and we budgeted X amount. The details of all of our IT providers and how much they're getting paid, that's not really relevant. So we're recommending that it not be provided on the agendas.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments on that? So we've got a motion on the floor to basically receive the accounts and move the recommendation. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Brandy. Items for information, Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington Health Unit, Public Health, Cost of Healthy Living. Recommendation is that the report be received for information. Can I get a motion to that effect? Oh, sorry, did I miss something? Yes, I forgot the Easter Bunny. Holy Dinah. Oh my God. How could I forget the Easter Bunny? So we'll just hop backwards a little bit here. And this is from the Newburgh Camden Lions Club, and it's a donation request that we've honored in the past. The recommendation is that council provide direction. Can I get a mover and seconder to provide direction? What is your direction? And you're seconding that, Crystal Lee. Any discussion? You need something else as well?
Sorry, can I just ask for clarification? So historically, they've asked for a donation for their Easter Bunny event and for their breakfast with Santa. It would make sense if we just included both if that was council's wishes.
That's not some religious conflict to mention the two in one motion? Are you willing to add that to your motion, that Santa be included? Okay, so that's fine with the mover and seconder. Okay, that's fine. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, now the cost of healthy living from the KFLNA Public Health Unit. The recommendation is that this report be received. Can I get a mover and seconder for that, please? Doug and Rob, any discussion? It's an interesting report, and it's very timely given the cost of food these days. I hope everyone had a good look at it. All in favor? That's carried. Any new business and statements from members? Anyone have anything to bring forward at this point? Seeing none. All I need is a confirming bylaw for this evening's meeting. Sherry and Wendy, all in favor? That's carried. I need a motion to adjourn. Crystal Lee and Rob, all in favor? It's carried. Good evening. Thank you very much. Yeah, we got an hour.